Hey everybody! Today we're going to talk about something that I think is extremely important in our aquariums, and that is redundancy. I've talked about this before, and most of my tanks do have some sort of backup type system to keep the water circulation going if something happens to my filter. But this tank does not. It only has that little hang on the back filter on it. And the other day, a little piece of grit got in there, and that's all it takes. That impeller stopped moving, and I didn't even realize it, but the tank had gone stagnant, and it sat there for long enough that all of the fish were hovering around at the surface, and that's what clued me into something was going wrong with the tank, and that's when I realized that the filter had stopped working. So today we're going to put a small power head in the tank. It is an 80 gallon per hour maximum, but it's also adjustable. I think we will probably just put it on at its maximum. It usually doesn't take very long for these to get clogged up with sort of bio growth on the inside of them. A lot of times snails will crawl around on the surface of them and block the water flow. So it might be a bit much at first, but we will probably very quickly have less water flow. So before we put it in the tank, we're actually going to go have a look at the little power head itself, and I'm going to show you the difference between maximum flow and minimum flow on the little adjustable power head.
Alright, I took a few moments to work the bubbles out of it to get it flowing, and this should give us a pretty good idea of what we're looking at. You can see about how much flow we're getting off of this. Not a whole lot. And that is all the way down on low. So to turn it to high, just adjust this little valve. And I'm sure you can stop anywhere in between, but we're just going to go from one extreme to the other. So now let me work the air bubbles out of it again. And that's how much it moves, turned all the way up. So it moves a pretty significant amount of water for being such a small power head. This is the side that sticks to the glass. That's the intake side where you've got your adjustment valve, and then that's where the water flows out. And of course this does come with different attachments you can put in there, and then you can put hoses on them, and you can use it as a fountain pump, or you can use it simply. It's a pretty vigorous power head for such a small, compact little size. So let's go get this put in the tank, and we will see what the fish do.
Alright, well you can barely tell it's in the tank just by looking, which is what I like. And I think the fish are actually going to respond much better to this. These are all river fish, even though they're not necessarily the kind of fish that would be out in the fast-moving center of a river, but they are all fish that are used to some sort of current. And there's not a ton of current in there now. You can see some of the fish are sort of positioning themselves facing left to right. Towards the front of the tank. That's because we're going to get this sort of swirling, clockwise sort of swirl of water around in the tank. So in the back of the tank they'll be facing right to left, and in the front of the tank they'll be facing left to right. But they'll be facing into the current, waiting for food to come to them, and we'll get to see a lot more natural sort of behavior that way. And in very short order, as I said, that pump will start to clog up, and we'll get less and less water flow. But the important thing is now that if the filter clogs up, we will have a secondary source of water circulation. Water circulation is the most important thing you can have in your aquarium, even beyond the simple filtration. The simple filtration doesn't really accomplish a whole lot. It mechanically removes some of the stuff from our site, but it's not really removing it from the tank or anything. It's just storing it in the filter, and it's still running water over all that stuff. The key thing your filter is doing is making water flow around the tank. It's giving you your gas exchange, and it's carrying water to the denitrifying bacteria, or to the nitrifying bacteria rather, and it's allowing for all of your waste products to be dealt with. If you don't have water flow, you're not going to have good gas exchange, and you're not going to be carrying the ammonia-rich water to where the bacteria lives in order for the nitrogen cycle to function. So in my opinion, that's the more serious danger of having a tank go stagnant, is your nitrogen cycle shuts down more or less when you don't have the water flowing. As far as the gas exchange, there is always going to be a little bit of gas exchange that happens right at the surface. So even in a stagnant tank, your fish can get by in a pinch the way mine were. They were all hovering around the surface of the water, and that alerted me to something going wrong. The ammonia that would have begun eventually to build up in the tank, there's nowhere for the fish to escape that. So the water circulation, in my opinion, is clearly the most important thing. But the most important function of that water circulation is to allow for your nitrogen cycle to process that waste. You have to move that water to where the bacteria is. That bacteria does not live in the water column. It's not just roving around looking for ammonia to deal with. That ammonia has to go to where the bacteria lives, and water circulation is what does that. And so having redundancy, having that secondary source, so that I know even if my filter stops, or even if in this case now, if the power head stops, I'll still have the filter, or if the filter stops, I'll still have the power head. Again, it's that redundancy, it's that backup system, knowing that if one fails, I will still have water circulation around my tank. So I will be able to rest easier now that I know this is done. That power head is available on my Amazon storefront. Don't forget to check that out. If you have not already, I always appreciate all the support, and if you shop on Amazon through any of my storefronts or any of my links, I do get commission on any qualifying purchases. So that is a good way to support me, and I always appreciate it. So thanks for watching this one. Hope you enjoyed that. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you ring that bell. You never know when I'm going to do a live stream, and you don't want to miss any of them. So thanks for watching. I'll see you real soon in the next one.